They managed to escape from the Black Wolf's den, and other guild representatives were chatting among themselves. Despite both Pencilton and Sunraku being silent, they were worried about the 5-on-5 duel format. The Wolfgang Guild members were mostly dark players, but would this guarantee their success? Sunraku logged out and planned his next move. He was now in a back alley after being sold to the Saint Shield territory. They were interested in him due to their affiliation with Saint Aegis Terra, the saint of charity, who could lift curses. However, Sunraku's wounds made it impossible to see her, and the guild was trying to get on good terms with his guild to find him. Sunraku shared his thoughts on the game Galaxy Sheet Laborer, which was difficult due to its ever-expanding universe, dangerous gambit system, and the need to care for crew mental health. Although he did not regret spending money on it, he had sealed it and returned to reality. Sunraku's friend asks him to visit the saint on another planet, but he realizes he has to take care of a Goldenine first. Suddenly, they are attacked by an old swindler who escapes through an instant teleport. Sunraku decides to challenge the Sword Saint, but is unable to defeat him due to his unpredictable movements. He analyzes the old man's past matches to try and find a strategy to beat him. Sunraku is struggling to defeat an AI opponent in a game, despite attempting to emulate successful strategies used by others. He is haunted by the AI and seeks advice from a classmate, Saiga, on how to defeat a stronger opponent. Saiga suggests emulating the opponent's moves to identify potential weaknesses, but not to actually use them against the opponent. Sunraku reveals that the game's secret boss is named Ryuguin Fugaku, to which Saiga reveals that her family is distantly related to the Ryuguin family. Saiga also mentions her cousin's child, who is talented in martial arts. Sunraku brushes off Saiga's embarrassment and continues the conversation, causing Saiga to question if it's a declaration of interest. Saiga invited Sunraku to Rockroll to discuss something important after school. On the way, they were interrogated by classmates about their frequent appearances together, leading to a chaotic situation. At Rockroll, Iwamaki talked about introverted people and the meaning of zero in Japanese, leading Sunraku to realize that Saiga-Rei and Saiga-0 are the same person, the strongest player in both the game and real life. The protagonist unexpectedly meets Saiga-0 in real life and discovers that Saiga-0 is actually Saiga-Rei, a skilled player who is also part of the Wolfgang Guild. Saiga-0 reveals her identity to form a connection with the protagonist and gain access to information that he might possess. Later, Saiga-Rei asks to play Shangri-La Frontier together with the protagonist, and the protagonist agrees. Meanwhile, Rei is feeling overwhelmed and is allowed to clock out for the day. The protagonist follows Saiga-Rei's advice to defeat Ryuguin Fugaku and decides to learn more about his opponent. Through videos and research, the protagonist is impressed with Fugaku's kendo skills and his deadly attacks. Desperately wanting to learn more about the Ryugun style, the protagonist searches for materials to study but is discouraged by the high price tag. Nonetheless, the protagonist is determined to defeat his opponent and believes that with the right knowledge, victory is possible. The protagonist also sets a personal record of losing 35 matches in one day while playing a video game. Saiga's recent encounters with Shanfro's Sunraku make sense as part of her strategy. Sunraku and Saiga share their love for the game and exchange contact information. Meanwhile, Sunraku takes a break from his battles and logs into Shanfro to climb a rock wall in search of precious ore materials. He must avoid the crystal scorpions that guard the area and decides to use Spectrum inventory as a last resort. He successfully avoids the scorpions and obtains the ore materials. Sunraku sprints forward and activates the crystal scorpions, then uses his secret technique Utsuro Mikagami to escape and drinks an MP recovery potion. He then uses Transfer Storage Space Entrance to redirect the aggro to a decoy and Transfer Real-World Exit to return to reality. Sunraku utilizes the enhanced movement speed of the overflow state to mine, and catch dropped items, but gets hit by the tail of the golden crystal scorpion and falls off a cliff. He eventually retrieves his pickaxe and reunites with Emul and Akitsu Akane, who manage to defeat a spear user using its clone. Sonraku admires the ninja's ability to accomplish impossible tasks. The protagonist takes a step back during a battle against the AI old man, Ryuguin Fugaku, who easily sweeps away his incoming attacks and repels his counterattacks. After several defeats, the protagonist realizes Ryuguin's battle style is a combination of two factors: the ability to avoid attacks with minimal movement and precise, short sword handling aimed at vital points. Despite attempts to copy the moves, the protagonist fails to pass as a cheap imitation against Ryuguin's perfect fighting style enhanced by data. The protagonist questions the meaning behind his deceased grandfather's warning not to become like him, a renowned sword fighter. In disappointment, the protagonist wonders why his grandfather would give him a VR kendo classroom, which uses his grandfather's image and mind, as a birthday present. They could no longer ask the unanswered questions, as the person who knew was gone. After logging out of the VR kendo classroom, they never spoke of the game again, and felt lost. Seeking answers, they wanted to fight the main force of Black Wolves. The game they logged into, Tsujigiri Capriccio Online or Bakumatsu, was made for player killers without any moral code. To secure save spots, players had to rob NPC players or do dogeza, which was taboo. Experienced players exploited the newbies. The game setting was realistic to Japan's late Tokugawa shogunate, and the players belonged to either the Bakufu or Shinsengumi faction. The goal was to leave no one alive from the opposite camp. The game had different divisions, with players called rankers if they climbed high. The protagonist was a former Division 9th, but wondered if they could climb higher. They had top-tier reward swords, Weeping Yozakura and Fireworks Tamaya. When a group of Shinsengumi soldiers approached, the protagonist killed them and offered their items to a pawn shop for them to buy back. The death penalty did not apply if players committed suicide. The protagonist wanted to put moves into practice and proceed beyond simple imitation onto roleplay territory, facing either the Old Man boss battle or the Rabbit's defense mission. Sonraku checks his phone and notices Saiga-0's unusual behavior while they were chatting. He remembers the package with the VR kendo classroom and prepares for the all-night Rabbit's defense mission. Sonraku visits Break to collect the repaired Scorpion gauntlets and learns of his mission to infiltrate enemy fortifications and kill their generals. He confidently assures Break of his capabilities and heads towards the tunnels. After leaving Break's workshop, they head to Rabbit's underground tunnels to meet Goldeneye. The massive tunnel surprises them, and they discuss the possibility of fighting something of that size. Emul asks if he can come, but Edward refuses, saying that he is susceptible to Goldeneye's poison. Sonraku agrees that Emul should sit this one out. They meet with a group of Vorpal bunnies at a hut, where they discuss Goldeneye's poison and plan the final confrontation. A new unique scenario starts, and Sonraku immediately accepts it. Unique monsters can curse players differently. Lucan's curse marks are crude and tribal-looking. The effects of Sigwam's curse are unknown, as are the curses of Wezemon, Kutanid, and Waisash. Golduneye's curse stops defenders from returning home and affects their families. The group plans to push Golduneye's offspring back and kill her commanders. Akitsu Akane joins the group with a volunteer quest. They plan to use a weapon called Tanryu to draw Golduneye's offspring away. The Vorpal bunnies trust Sonraku to lead them to victory. The main character contemplates listing his achievements to convince the NPCs to entrust him with their lives for the upcoming quest. They discuss the details of the upcoming quest, including a potential plot hook and the types of enemies they may encounter. The tunnels leading to the quest area are home to Vorpal bunnies that emit toxic black vapors from their cracked bodies. The group observes sealed side tunnels and speculates on the purpose of the groups sealing them. They eventually reach the front lines, where the main battle will take place, and prepare for the operation to drive out the enemy boss. The group hurries along, with some members struggling to keep up, and the main character becoming frustrated with their pace. The Vorpal bunnies have 3 unit types: tanks that block pathways, attackers that wipe out enemies, and carpenters that block side paths. Sunraku's task is to kill enemy commanders who generate poisonous vapors. Despite having little information on the enemy, Sunraku will do what needs to be done. The tunnels ahead will be dark, and Sunraku contemplates updating his respawn point. Edward rallies the Vorpal bunnies with a fiery speech, and they prepare to fight. The Magic Bombardment Corps and Akitsu Akane join the battle. The Magic Corps readied their spells and released a cannonade of long-distance spells called Forge Dragons. Sunraku rigorously prepared himself for the excessive movement of the overflow state, just like elementary schoolers would prepare for the 3-legged race during the sports festival. Sunraku hit his chest and waited until the black thunder completely enveloped his body. The Vorpal bunnies released waves of dragonfire out of their staffs and consumed everything that was standing in their way. Sunraku ran towards Goldenine's lair, down the tunnels, while activating zero gravity in order to run on the walls and ceiling. Sunraku faced a snake called Tsuchinoko and judged its appearance. Suddenly, Tsuchinoko convulsed, and a whole arm shot out of its mouth holding onto a sword. This was going to be one heck of a battle. In a devastated battleground filled with mortar holes, Sunraku battles a sword wielding Tsuchinoko. The snake's arms are easily avoidable due to its limited mobility. Despite the unusual ease of the battle, Sunraku remains vigilant, suspecting a trap. He wonders if the monster is a multi-staged boss battle, and whether it is similar in strength to powerful creatures from other games. After defeating the Tsuchinoko, Sunraku examines the loot. He finds an ingredient crystal, Golduni's Leptica No. 3, and continues his attack, executing powerful combination attacks. However, he senses that his attacks are hardly causing any harm to the boss monster. Suddenly, Sunraku is shocked when his weapon's durability decreases due to the monster's attack. Sunraku struggles with the decreasing durability of his sword, Kinsho, which also restores its own durability at the cost of his health. He realizes that Tsuchinoko's arms are weak points, but hitting them is difficult with his other sword, Meiki. He manages to inflict damage on Tsuchinoko's arms and throat. Suddenly, Tsuchinoko begins to molt, shedding its skin and revealing its true form as a 3-meter-tall humanoid woman. Sunraku tries to communicate with her, but is met with hostility. He plans to defeat her with the help of napalm, a substance effective against Kuchisake Onas, a type of yukai. Good and bad things are intertwined, and luck is determined by which one appears more. Purchasing a game can lead to enjoyment or regret, but sometimes regret can be compensated for. Despite this, sometimes a bad-looking game can turn out to be a hidden treasure. Sunraku faces a dangerous attack from a poisonous sword projected with bodily fluids and creates a crystal shield that fails to work due to the mineral structure. Sunraku uses a clone to ease pressure and attacks the self-proclaimed Goldunine from above. Sunraku continually attacks and crushes the opponent's fist with a crystal pillar, temporarily stopping the use of the poison sword. Sunraku's situation is considered lucky, but caution is still necessary due to the humanoid opponent's adaptability. No amount of individual player skill can help with the tension caused by the giant opponent. Sunraku activates crystal pillars to draw the monster's attention while planning his attack with the whale rabbit moon. He realizes he needs to intercept the poison sword with his own blade to extract the poison and prepares for the attack. However, the monster is tough, and the location limits Sunraku's agility and speed. He imitates Ryuguin Fugaku's maneuver, but realizes the monster is molting again, and even more dangerous. Sunraku struggles to satisfy Goldunine, who demands perfection. Goldunine wields 2 swords, but lacks the necessary skills to handle them effectively. Sunraku prefers to dual-wield long swords, though shorter blades are preferred for 2-sword fighting. Snake Woman proves difficult for Sunraku who resorts to landing low blows on Goldunine to fill the gauge. Once the monster molts, the poison no longer hardens. Sunraku realizes positioning is crucial and jumps on top of Snake Woman's arms to create momentum. After the necessary preparations, Sunraku uses a top-to-bottom slash attack to carve a wound. However, Sunraku cannot act immediately as the giant Snake Woman's body undergoes another molt and becomes coated in black. The monster prepares to attack again. Sunraku dodged the self-proclaimed Goldunine's poison sword attack and made a strategic retreat. He planned to hit her while she was molting, but with the poison's area of effect, it was difficult to close the gap between them. Sunraku used insults to provoke Goldunine into abandoning sword skills for a direct attack. He used the blue Moonlight sword to take her out and show the power of air turbulence. Sunraku has 3 tasks: determine his opponent's abilities, secure a position for a powerful overhead attack, and have 3 things: speed, power, and control. He grabs a crystal and feeds it to his sword, the blue Moonlight, as his opponent approaches. He then feeds all the crystals he has collected into the sword, using the deep coating skill. The tremendous weight of the sword is deceptive, as it is actually a sheath for the true golden blade inside. Sunraku activates Levin Trigger Disaster Hand, a unique skill that enhances his technique using air turbulence. He uses a port to get behind his opponent, surprising her with Flip Float. As he jumps, the golden blade glows, and he executes his sword-drawing technique, Raging Gale. Upon pulling the sword out, Sunraku activates a unique skill known as Eclipse Vorpal. By uniting the 2 swords, the sheath fills with magical power and accelerates the speed of the blade. The Raging Gale skill is also compatible with this. Sunraku strikes Goldunine with an attack that cuts through the air and leaves a deep wound on her neck. Sunraku cancels the effects of Overflow and Levin Trigger to exchange his swords. Sunraku and Goldunine both possess a strong will to fight, but a sudden noise interrupts the fight. Sunraku uses instant teleport to avoid an attack from a massive snake-like creature and is blown away. Goldunine is also stunned. A small, pure white albino snake with 4 nagas appears and declares hatred for the world. Goldunine regains consciousness and attacks with 4 nagas, beginning a new battle. Games are not always fair, and making the first move does not guarantee success. Self-proclaimed Goldunine is being attacked by 4 nagas. They render her weapons useless and severely injure her. Though it would be logical to leave the situation and focus on the mission, Sunraku feels that something is wrong and interferes. The White Snake Girl appears and is amused by Sunraku's assertiveness. Sunraku dislikes the habit of stealing someone else's kill, and a heated argument ensues, resulting in a fight. The protagonist tries to decrease the distance between them in conversation, but becomes so engrossed that the albino monster girl is suddenly right in front of him. He takes screenshots of her expression. The protagonist wonders if all Goldunine-type monsters are easily agitated. Goldunine's expression changes before she crushes a self-proclaimed Goldunine. The protagonist reflects on the use of technology in war. Akitsuya Kan helps defend against Goldunine's offspring with an oversized scythe. The battle is grueling and tiring. The snakes are never-ending, and it's hard to know their strength. Saiga-0 joins the battle with her sledgehammer. The protagonist mutters a calm and composed declaration to crush all of them. The self-proclaimed Goldunine has taught Sunraku to avoid snake attacks at all costs. He removes his star cloak to avoid an attack and jumps on top of a crystal pillar to escape the Nagas. Sunraku questions why the real Goldunine is not attacking and realizes that Waisash may serve as a deterrent. Sunraku struggles to control his movements while on the tunnel's ceiling, but stabilizes himself by using his jumping power. He lands on a Naga's back, but takes a hit to his left arm with a sword of poison. Sunraku's left arm is useless, and he realizes that he has no idea how to complete the quest. Sunraku considers options to run away, fight, or accept death, but decides on Plan B. Goldenine's offspring became confused as the curse of poison on the Vorpal bunnies began to disappear. This was because someone had found and taken out the commander behind enemy lines. The bunnies were covered in poison cracks and unable to return home due to the curse spreading like a disease. However, with their despair gone, they found the strength to wipe out all remaining snakes. A warning echoed in the distance, and something dangerous approached. A half-naked human ran from 4 Nagas and stopped to disable them with a gauntlet. Suddenly, a humanoid monster appeared and grabbed the human's head, but was hit by a sledgehammer and blown away. The monster girl, Goldenine, woke up and was unhappy with the situation. The main character, Sunraku, is participating in a battle against 4 Nagas. He manages to save himself from death 3 out of 4 times, and is happy to see that he can use his left arm again, even if only temporarily. Sunraku and his comrades are trying to stop the Nagas from infiltrating and taking over the front lines. They're aware that it's a losing battle, but they still try their best. Sunraku is worried about Rei's health as she doesn't look good. Deciding to face a difficult enemy, Sunraku and his group face off against a self-proclaimed Goldunine who can use poison swords, and they are unsure if the creature's attacks will have additional effects. Sunraku notices a Vorpal bunny riding a boar and wonders if it's the messenger that Waisash sent. Suddenly, Emul appears and scolds her sister for being in the war zone. Sunraku then tells Emul to bring Waisash to safety as their party is in danger. After the bunny and Emul leave, they continue fighting against the Goldunine. Their party takes some damage, but they manage to survive. Sunraku tells Edward to escape while they create a distraction. Sunraku desperately tries to focus the Goldunine's attention on him and provokes her with his attacks. Just as things seem dire, Waisash arrives to save them. The age-old debate on strength between smaller and larger individuals was put to rest when a small bunny intimidated the Nagas. Edward tries to stand up but is too weak. Waisash picks up Edward's sword and confronts Goldunine, who questions why he protects maggots. The two unique monsters converse, using a language the group cannot understand. Waisash proposes to end using their children to fight their battles and resolve disputes between themselves. Goldunine sends Waisash a chilling look, and a sudden gust of wind damages the Nagas. The group questions how Goldunine and Waisash plan to win. Waisash suggests they leave the battlefield. Goldunine juggled swords made of poison while striking strange poses. Waisash was not doing anything to help them. Goldunine turned her gaze toward Sunraku and threatened to kill him. Sunraku realized that they were in a big predicament. Waisash put back Edward's sword and suddenly Sunraku, Akitsu Akane, and Rei got killed. They cleared the unique scenario, the defense of the Bunny Country, and received a new title, the Defender of the Bunny Country. Waisash had promised that everything would be recovered completely after awakening, but Sunraku realized that it was just part of the game's plot. Pioneer players and ordinary NPCs are completely different beings in this world. Sunraku was surprised to learn about the respawn function, which is common knowledge. Sunraku pinched Emul's cheeks furiously while scolding him for not explaining it earlier. Pioneer players are considered blessed by the gods, leading to rapid growth in their abilities. They can learn from mistakes as they will only wake up in their bed instead of dying. Sleeping habits vary among players. Although Pioneer players cannot die in their sleep, from the NPC's perspective, some disappear after prolonged sleep. Pioneer players have advantages such as the level up, respawn, log in, log out, and retirement systems. The position of Pioneer players has always been exceptional to the NPCs. Plan A and Plan B have the same end goal, but their approach differs. The Bahamut creature may hold the key to understanding the story's elements. Akitsu Akane went to the medical center, and Saiga-0 is still asleep. The protagonist has another matter to attend to, finding the cause of the conflict between the Vorpal bunnies and Goldunine to lift the curse of the carved wounds. In Rabbits, there are 2 blacksmith workshops, one in town belonging to Break, who Sunraku helped achieve the Grandmaster Blacksmith rank, and the other within the bunny court belonging to Waisash. Sunraku gives Waisash a crystallized ingredient called Goldenine's Curse. During a battle, Sunraku manages to acquire a rusty sword from a monster, which Waisash seems to recognize. Sunraku is suspicious of his recent luck and receives the sword from Waisash, discovering it was the tip of a giant spear called Grateful, the Spear of the Great Hero. Sunraku engages in an interpersonal battle and still has the taste of an energy drink on his tongue. He decides to wash it away with milk. Sunraku appears upset, but is reassured by his friends that he works best in this state. They discuss the upcoming match against the Black Wolves Guild and the difficulty they will face with the Saiga sisters' powerful weapons and defenses. Pencilton believes they can counter 3 of their opponents, and Kyogoku wonders about their missing team member. Sunraku contemplates their opponent's motivation for the match and feels there may be more going on. Sunraku volunteered to handle the last person in the team duel and may change their gender to do so. Kyotomate wondered about the rules, which involved each team selecting 5 members to participate in 5 one-on-one duels. Pencilton asked about retiring from the battle, and Sunraku proposed the idea of converting someone from the other side to turn a 4 versus 5 match into a 5 versus 4 match. They made a contract allowing Rei to shift her debt to Wolfgang Guild, causing Black Wolves to lose one of their reliable fighters. Pencilton teased Sunraku about his fortune, but Katsu refused to help pay off debts. They decided to force Black Wolves into a 4 versus 4 match and discussed their strategy. Katsu showed off the power of tactical war beasts, ultimately leading to Black Wolves being sentenced to death. In gaming, there are combinations that work well together and others that do not. Katsu and the tactical war beast White Tiger are a match made in heaven. The main character of the show, Shadow, inspired Sunraku's style. Leveling down and building weaker can make you stronger in ways unimaginable. As a professional gamer, Katsu focuses on perfecting his own movements instead of analyzing his opponents. In battle, Katsu uses Byako, the White Tiger, and aims to demolish his opponents. A robot is brought out as the reward for defeating Gravekeeper Weserman. Katsu loads the non-standard ether reactor into the White Tiger armor suit, which then envelops him completely. The armor strengthens his limbs, gives him abilities, and reinforces his defense. The White Tiger absorbs winds and compresses their power within its mechanical limbs. Katsu uses the exhaust acceleration of White Tiger to achieve overwhelming power. He strikes Slashing Shadow with a non-standard tactical weapon, Battering Ram, and shortens his HP by 60%. Katsu tells his opponents that there is no penalty for killing other players, and swiftly defeats Slashing Shadow and looks towards the next opponent. A man gloats about the entertainment value of a machine called White Tiger. Sunraku questions the compatibility of the machine, offering an analogy for its movements. The machine is revealed to be one of 4 non-standard tactical war beasts, which can be won by defeating a unique monster. The Black Wolves face off against Katsu, who demonstrates a mastery of Batujutsu. The idea of pasta without noodles is discussed. The time limit and energy consumption of the tactical war beasts is mentioned as a disadvantage in battle. Sunraku wonders about Katsu's endurance. The third opponent, Riberios, was giving Katsu a run for his money, as White Tiger's movements began slowing down due to running low on energy. Katsu's level sat at 86, not maxed out, but he was still not to be underestimated. After White Tiger's fuel storage ran out, Katsu remained standing confidently as a level 86 fighter. Katsu believed in piling up to become stronger and had a subclass called Destroyer that allowed him to discard his own weapons for power. He showed his power by resisting Riberios's greatsword with his armored arm. The Destroyer subclass has a unique skill called Scrap and Build, which exchanges the durability of weapons for a power boost. Sunraku realizes this skill synergizes well with the novices' handguards and the monk class. Riberios, a high-level player with the Sword Saint subclass, underestimates Sunraku and loses in battle. Sunraku uses a surprise attack to defeat Riberios, and his light armor proves to be a basic flaw. A loud sound echoes as Riberios is defeated, leaving only Katsu to face Saiga-100. Pencilton reveals her plan to defeat Saiga-100, and Momo is shocked by Pencilton's revealing outfit. The battle between Pencilton and Momo begins. The battle between the Holy Spear and the Holy Sword was about to commence. Ray explained that the Holy Sword could resurrect its user upon death and increase their attributes in a pinch. Pencilton managed to hold her own against flying swords with the help of consumable items. They discussed the strategy to defeat Night Prowler Lukon, relying on a lot of RNG. They noted the unity of the 10 PM army compared to the divided Black Wolves Guild. Riberios and his followers needed to go for Black Wolves to become truly unified. Pencilton's strength drew comparisons to taking down Waziman alone. Saiga-100 had a solid attack plan with her Excalibur and other swords, leaving little room for evasive maneuvers. The spear had an armor-piercing effect against low vitality stats. The group wonders about Saiga-100's low vitality stat, but acknowledges her experience with tough situations. They discuss the use of accessories to manage MP and HP, and how certain abilities are automated. They also talk about the vulnerabilities of the Sword Sync class and the danger of overconfidence. The group expresses anxiety over Pencilton's plans to hunt wolves and fears that her words may result in deadly consequences. From behind, some rude comments can be heard, but Sunraku understands it is just the dynamic of the three original members. This group seems different from Arthur Pencilton's previous group. They treat each other as friends, not expendable pieces. The enigmatic bird person is rumored to have taken down Gravekeeper Waziman and is likely the strongest of the three. Pencilton spoke highly of the other members, besides the initial three in port at Fifsia. Saiga-0's sudden transfer may have contributed to Library and 10 PM Army agreeing to cooperate. Fighting unique monsters is the only thing that doesn't bring Kyogoku delight. Kyogoku and Saiga-100 face off, having met each other before. Saiga-100 recognizes Kyogoku, even though identities of players with the same kanji can differ. Kyogoku's skills are released, including the new and powerful 3-digit skills. Saiga-100 reveals the Weapon Breaker sword, made from a rare monster, and is the natural enemy of Kyogoku's weapons. They clash, both trying to gain the upper hand and prepare for another round. Saiga-100 uses the Synchronist skill, making it seem like there are 3 swordsmen attacking. One of the swords has the weapon-destroying effect still active. The black sword makes an unpleasant sound as Kyogoku and Saiga-100 engage. Kyogoku throws a trap item towards Saiga-100, causing her to use her sword to defend. Kyogoku aims to get rid of Saiga-100's final sword to leave her defenseless. She strikes with a skill that pierces Saiga-100's armor. Saiga-100 retaliates with her own skill, reducing Kyogoku's HP by 20%. Kyogoku's left arm numbs, but she needs to win to avoid the wrath of her allies. She receives an idea, a taboo that would upset Saiga-100, and executes it. It successfully distracts Saiga-100, allowing Kyogoku to land a blow across her chest. Kyogoku was angry at Saiga-100's behavior, and was able to wield a 2-handed sword with one hand due to the rage she felt. Saiga-100's focus was shattered, and her only defense was with her floating swords. Kyogoku saw an opportunity and used her black sword to attack Saiga-100's neck with a secret sword art, but was paralyzed with a status effect called paralysis. Saiga-100 explained that the spell was perfect in battles against players. Both women used potions and restored their HP. Saiga-100 was able to control 7 swords using a formation of 6-armed star named Sword Art Septet, which Kyogoku was unable to block. Kyogoku was forced to the ground by an invisible force, but refused to let go of her sword, eventually losing to Saiga-100. The guild learns that Saiga-100 has 2 additional fighting modes, raising questions about their nature. Sanraku is warned that if he loses to Saiga-100, the guild will be assimilated into Black Wolves. Rei cheers on Sanraku before their battle. He worries about Saiga-100's abilities, but presents his newest creation, imitation roleplay, Ryuguin Fugaku. A player named Sanraku made a name for himself by becoming the first to defeat the unique monster, Gravekeeper Wezamon, and later taking down another unique monster, Kutanid of the Abyss, making him the only player to defeat more than one unique monster in the game. The Ashurakai kept close guard of Gravekeeper Wezamon, which was considered impossible to defeat due to its fast attacks and insta-kill moves. Sanraku's victory inspired other guilds to try and defeat the monster, but all efforts failed. Sanraku also helped found the guild Wolfgang. The defeat of the Night Prowler Lucan by Sanraku and 2 other players had a significant impact on the game's community. Saiga-100, the leader of the Black Wolves and a sword saint, had wanted to defeat Lucan herself, but was frustrated when others did it first. She learned that Sanraku's build was focused on agility and evasion rather than attacks or defense. The battle was no longer Saiga-100's, but rather Saiga-Momo's. Rei's infatuation with Sunraku was evident, putting Momo in a delicate situation. She needed to figure out who Sunraku was and what kind of man could capture her sister's heart. Black Wolves were in the dark about Sunraku's weapons, and he had a suspicious audience member watching him. Sunraku assumed a battle stance, itching for battle, but Momo saw it as a provocation and attacked. Sunraku showed his strength in battle, and his sword had a unique ability to restore its durability with a successful critical hit. Momo attempted an ambush-type divine punishment, but Sunraku was resistant to it. The real fight between guilds Black Wolves and Wolfgang began.